But let me tell you something bold, and I need you to hear this with your spirit, not just your ears. No one is coming to save you. Not the government, not your job, not your mama, not your mentor, not your friends. No one is coming to lift you out of that pit of mediocrity. You've got to dig your own way out with your hands, your mind, and most importantly, your faith. Radical responsibility means taking full and complete ownership of your life. Every outcome, every decision, every setback, and every victory. It's not about assigning blame to your parents, your boss, the economy, or even your past. It's about recognizing that no matter what happened to you, the next move is yours. This is not a mindset the world teaches, but it's the only mindset that will free you. Because as long as you believe someone else holds the keys to your destiny, you will live in mental slavery, waiting for a release that will never come. When you embrace radical responsibility, you stop looking outward and start looking inward. You no longer say, why is this happening to me? But instead you ask, what can I learn from this? And how can I grow? That shift alone will change your entire life. Because victims react, but leaders respond. Victims blame, but leaders build. The moment you stop reacting and start responding is the moment you step into your power. Taking ownership means you stop hiding behind excuses that sound logical but are spiritually lethal. I don't have time. I didn't get the support I needed. They don't believe in me. All of that may be true, but none of it is relevant to your assignment. Excuses are chains wrapped in good reasoning, but responsibility breaks chains. It says, I'll find a way, or I'll make one. Radical responsibility doesn't ask for permission to grow. It doesn't wait for a supportive environment or ideal conditions. It doesn't need everyone's approval. It understands that elevation requires separation. And if you have to walk alone for a season in order to walk in purpose for a lifetime, so be it. Responsibility sees loneliness not as a curse, but as a season of refinement. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. This mindset also eliminates entitlement. You stop expecting rewards for average effort. You no longer believe success is owed to you. You realize you get what you work for, not what you wish for. Radical responsibility confronts the part of you that wants results without sacrifice. It calls you to put your emotions aside and do the hard things, even when they're uncomfortable. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't flinch in the face of difficulty. It's easy to blame circumstances. It's easy to say, I grew up in poverty or I didn't have the resources. But here's the truth. Many people grew up broke and still became millionaires. Many people were counted out and still changed the game. Your past might explain you, but it does not excuse you. You are not responsible for the hand you were dealt, but you are responsible for how you play it. Radical responsibility requires brutal honesty with yourself. You have to stop sugarcoating your own behavior. If you're procrastinating, call it out. If you're playing small, confront it. If you're lying to yourself about your discipline, face it. You can't heal what you hide, and you can't change what you won't confront. Owning your flaws doesn't make you weak. It gives you power to improve. When you live from this mindset, you stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. Because motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. But responsibility builds a system. You wake up and do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. That's the difference between dabblers and dominators. Dabblers wait to feel like it. There will be days when you want to quit, days when the pressure feels unbearable, days when it seems like no one understands what you're going through. But when you live with radical responsibility, you don't quit on your calling. You might cry, you might rest, but you don't give up because you know the cost of giving up is far greater than the pain of pressing forward. You begin to see adversity differently. Problems aren't punishments, they're preparation. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, They're opportunities for mastery. You stop asking for an easier life and start asking for more capacity. You don't shrink to match your environment. You rise to match your assignment. Radical responsibility empowers you to lead yourself before you lead others. It forces you to set standards, not just goals. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you require of yourself. If your standards are low, your results will be too. But when your standards rise, everything around you has to elevate. Your habits, your conversations, your boundaries, your environment. You stop tolerating the unnecessary. You stop hanging around energy-draining people. You stop engaging in self-sabotage. You stop over-explaining your dreams to people who aren't qualified to understand them. Because when you take responsibility for your life, you become protective of your peace. You understand that peace is not passive, it's guarded. Responsibility teaches you to be resourceful. If you don't know how, you learn. If you don't have it, you create it. If no one opens a door, you build one. And if you fail, you try again with more wisdom. You no longer need to be rescued. You become the rescuer of your own dreams. That shift alone is freedom. You also begin to see the difference between being busy and being effective. You stop glorifying hustle and start prioritizing results. You track your actions, not your intentions. You measure progress, not just passion. Because responsibility is not about working harder, it's about working smarter with focus, faith, and consistency. When others complain, you create. When others delay, you decide. When others retreat, you rise. Because you've learned that movement creates momentum. And momentum is a force that turns possibility into reality. But it only comes when you take the first step, no matter how uncertain or uncomfortable it feels. You'll start to attract people who also walk in responsibility. People who challenge you, not coddle you. People who hold you accountable, not enable your excuses. Because responsibility sharpens your vision and attracts alignment. You no longer fit in with those who settle. You stand out with those who stretch. And there's no room for ego and radical responsibility. You're not too big to ask for help, and you're not too small to take a step. You learn to be humble enough to grow and confident enough to act. You realize growth requires both grace and grit. It's not either slash or, it's both slash and. That balance becomes your superpower. And even when the results don't come right away, you don't fold. Harvest takes time. Seeds don't bloom overnight. But with responsibility comes patience, and with patience comes the reward. Because what you build through responsibility lasts. It's not built on hype, emotion, or luck. It's built on purpose, discipline, and trust in the process. Faith requires movement. It is not a theory, a concept, or a feeling. It is a force that demands action. Too many people talk about faith as if it's something you simply hold in your heart or speak with your mouth, but real faith lives in your feet. Real faith shows up not when you sit and wait, but when you rise and walk. It is not passive belief. It is aggressive obedience. You don't prove faith by what you say. You prove it by what you do when nothing looks certain, when the path isn't clear, and when the outcome isn't guaranteed. You can't say you trust God and sit still. You can't claim to believe in your calling and yet avoid every opportunity to grow. If you really believe, you move. If you really trust, you take the next step. Faith without movement is fiction. It sounds good, but produces nothing. God does not reward thoughts. He rewards steps. It's not your intention that shifts your life. It's your action. The moment you start walking, even if you don't have it all figured out, heaven starts aligning things in your favor. So many people pray for open doors, but when the door opens, they hesitate. They ask for favor, but run from responsibility. They want miracles, but won't obey instructions. But faith means going even when you don't have all the money, even when you don't know all the people, even when you're scared. Faith doesn't wait for perfect peace. Faith steps through pressure with purpose. The storm doesn't cancel your faith, it confirms it. You don't need to see the finish line to start running. You just need enough boldness to take the first step. Faith is uncomfortable. It calls you to stretch, to sacrifice, to move beyond your convenience. If it feels too safe, it's not faith. If it's easy to explain, it's not faith. Faith leads you into places where logic can't go. It takes you past your education, past your experience, past your fears. It forces you to lean on God and not your own understanding. You start building before you see blueprints. You start walking before you see the road. That's where faith lives, in motion, not meditation. Too many people are spiritual in theory, but stuck in reality. They sing about mountains moving, but won't move themselves. They quote scriptures, but won't apply discipline. They cry out to God, but ignore his nudges. You don't need another prophecy, you need to move. You don't need a louder confirmation, you need stronger courage. The answer is not in another delay. The answer is in your next step. Obedience is the evidence of faith. You want God to bless what you're doing, then do something worth blessing. Remember, Peter didn't walk on water because he stayed in the boat. He walked on water because he stepped out in faith. The miracle was not in the water, it was in the walk. Faith is stepping onto what doesn't make sense because you trust the one who told you to move. That's why you can't explain your journey to everybody. They weren't there when God called you. They didn't hear what you heard. You owe it to your future not to stay still just because others are too scared to move. Faith requires that you act before the blessing comes. It's planting seeds before you see a harvest. It's building the ark before it rains. It's preparing for the wind before the door opens. You don't get to wait for the manifestation. You have to move like it's already yours. You speak it, you prepare for it, you walk like it's done. That kind of posture attracts divine acceleration because faith attracts the favor that waiting never will. Faith demands that you challenge your comfort. Your comfort zone is the enemy of your calling. Faith won't let you settle for safe. It pushes you into unfamiliar territory. It calls you to leave behind what's familiar to step into what's fruitful. And yes, it will be scary. But comfort is a liar. It tells you that staying still is smart. It tells you that risk is dangerous. But the most dangerous thing you can do is not move, because stagnation kills more dreams than failure ever will. Movement is proof that you believe what you say. You say you're called, show it. You say you're chosen, move like it. You say you're anointed, act like it. Don't let your words be louder than your walk. The world doesn't respond to declarations, it responds to demonstration. It's not the noise that matters, it's the motion. And your faith must be louder in movement than in mouth. Some of you are waiting for God to move, but God is waiting for you to move. He already spoke, he already confirmed, he already opened the door. The next move is yours. You want him to send the increase, show him the work. You want him to enlarge your territory, start walking the land, because the promise is activated by your obedience. It's not enough to believe you can have it. You have to behave like it's already yours. Faith doesn't eliminate fear, but it overrides it. You don't need to be fearless, you need to be obedient. You can move scared. You can move unsure. You can move with trembling hands. What matters is that you move. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that purpose is more important than fear. The more you move, the smaller fear becomes. And the more you act in faith, the stronger your spirit grows. Faith changes how you talk, how you walk, and how you show up. You stop speaking from your pain and start speaking from your promise. You stop walking in doubt and start walking in destiny. You show up not like someone hoping for a win, but like someone sent to win. You carry yourself with the authority of someone who knows God is backing them. Because once you move in faith, heaven moves with you. Movement isn't always big. Sometimes faith looks like a phone call. Sometimes it's showing up to the meeting. Sometimes it's posting the content. Sometimes it's applying for the license. Don't despise the small steps. Every giant leap started with a simple move. Faith isn't about flash, it's about follow through. What matters is that you're moving in the right direction, even if no one sees it yet. Your movement opens doors for miracles. It shifts your atmosphere. It unlocks favor. It attracts resources. It places you in divine alignment. But none of that happens while you wait on the sideline. You've got to be in motion. Destiny doesn't visit the couch. Purpose doesn't knock on the door of procrastination. You want to see overflow? Start overflowing with action. You want divine help? Show up ready to work. Don't worry if others don't understand your movement. Faith often looks foolish to the fearful. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be talked about. You'll be doubted. But if God told you to move, then you move. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe God your obedience. Because their opinion can't open doors. Their approval can't bring breakthrough. Only faith moves the hand of heaven. When you move in faith, you shift from hoping to expecting. You don't wonder if it's going to happen. You expect it to happen. You start preparing your life for the manifestation. You clear space. You make room. You sharpen your skills. You invest in your growth. That preparation is a declaration. I believe God is who he says he is, and he will do what he said he'll do. That's why movement is so powerful. It tells heaven, I trust you. It tells fear, you don't own me. It tells the enemy, you should have stopped me when I was doubting, because now I'm moving. Every time you take a step, you're declaring war on everything trying to keep you small. And that step becomes a seed that multiplies in ways you can't predict. So let the others wait. Let the others wonder. Let the others worry. But you move, you go, you act. Because you understand what they don't. Faith isn't a feeling. Faith is a force. And the proof of faith is always found in movement. You are already equipped. Everything you need to start, to grow, to elevate, and to overcome is already inside you. You were not sent to this earth empty. You were born with divine deposits, gifts, instincts, insights, talents, and a purpose that predates your problems. You don't have to chase after worthiness. You were created with it. The enemy's strategy isn't to steal your gift. He can't. His strategy is to convince you you don't have one. Because if he can get you to doubt what's in you, you'll never use it. The problem is never the absence of power, it's the lack of awareness. Most people are walking around carrying greatness, but living small because they never stop to recognize what they already have. You're asking for a miracle when you are the miracle. You're praying for a way out when God already gave you the tools to build your way through. You are not under-resourced, you are under-activated. The treasure is in you, but you've got to unlock it. You don't need another sign to begin. You don't need everyone's approval to launch. You don't need a crowd to validate your calling. God gave you what you need, not what they expect. Stop waiting for someone to come and confirm you. Stop searching for outside permission to move. If you are waiting for a voice from heaven, hear this. Your breath is proof that heaven already approved you. You are the one for the job. You were not made to be average. You were not designed to fit in or go unnoticed. You were built with intention and purpose. The fact that you survived everything you've been through is not a coincidence. It's evidence. There is a reason you're still standing. There is a reason the pressure didn't crush you. There is a reason